Dog is really man's best friend. Hey, listen to this story, guys. This man has a near-death experience and is saved by his dog. It's a crazy, wild story. In this episode, we have Chris from Squatch Survival Gear, the sponsor of the show. Come on and tell us some wild stories. He had a near-death experience, 2 run-ins with Bigfoot, 1 during a military operation. Yeah. Then you get some backstory of how he created this company and all the struggles and trials that come along with owning your own business. Enjoy.
Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there.
How dare you!
All guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want!
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
What is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we're about to fill it up.
Torches high.
Look at it from a different perspective.
Hey guys, what is happening and what is up? Hold out that glass, baby, because you know what time it is. We about to fill it up. Welcome to the Prometheus Lens Podcast, the place where the conversations are always enlightening. I am your host, Doc Brown, and here we like to use the allegory of the Prometheus Lens to take a second look at everything. Well, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the hero's journey. Be sure and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check out this banner down below with all of our social medias at their various platforms. That would be much, much appreciated. Well, guys, with all the junk out of the way, all the crap out of the way, let's get to the meat of the matter. And I'm sure if you've been listening to my show any amount of time, you've heard me talk about Squatch Survival Gear. Well, I got my good friend Chris on with us. We're going to talk, we're going to shoot the breeze, and maybe hear some cool Bigfoot stories, let you know a little bit about this man, and we're just going to have a good conversation today, guys. So what do you say? Well, Chris, I'd like to welcome you to the show, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for sharing your audience with me and just having me on. That's super awesome. I appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you, man. You jumped on board and became a sponsor like within the first few months of the show starting, man. So that was a big help, man. I really appreciate you. Well, for those, man, that just don't know much about you, which I'm sure is the majority of the listeners, just introduce yourself and give us a little feel of who you are, what you do, background, and let's just start off with an introduction.
Okay, well, my name's Chris. I am owner, founder of Squatch Survival Gear, all-American made brand, veteran-owned, veteran-operated. I only hire Americans to make stuff like this in America. Even this beanie I'm wearing is made in America. Those are on the website. We do gear and combat veterans. So I've been to Afghanistan, been to Iraq. I was a contractor. I've been to Saudi. I worked in Afghanistan as a contractor again. I've been a few other places en route. Had a full life, had several close calls with the specter of death, you can call him, or the angel of death. Pick your stuff, both as a civilian and in my military life. So I've seen 2 Bigfoots. Yeah, 2 different locations. So if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that. I've heard... I don't know if you can call it a near-death experience, but I call it the closest to death I've ever been. It's the first time in my life I was in a spot where sorry, y'all. My life never stops. Like, I get about 6 hours a night where nobody calls me or bugs me. So I try and squeeze all my sleeping in there. So, yeah, if you want to hear about that, I'll tell you about that. I've got one buddy, he's like, dude, you were probably as close to dead as you could be without being dead based on what you're telling me, and he does near-death stuff. That was literally the second time, but the most confident time. I was like, oh, I'm only here because God's not going to let me go. So if you think about, people ask me, they're like, what was that like? I tell them, but by the grace of God, I'm still here. It comes down to, there's believing and there's knowing, right?
Yeah.
Believing requires faith. Knowing is something different. Like when you see a Bigfoot, you're like, And the first time I saw one was out in North Carolina near the Uwharrie National. At the time, I did not know that I was that close to the Uwharrie National Forest out there, because we were just helping the helicopter kids do sling loads. So they were. Do you know what sling loading is?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so Mr. Helicopter, right? The big ones with the two rotors, the Chinooks, and they carry the little truck underneath it. When you see them flying, have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's called a sling load. Okay, and they use the Blackhawks and they use the Chinook helicopters.
Yeah, they supposedly use that to carry the Kandahar giant from Afghanistan. Is what the story is.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I have not bumped into anybody from the 101st who has confirmed that story for me. Even on the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like I don't like. There are ways that we veterans talk to each other without talking to each other. Good example. When I was in Iraq in 2005, I ran into a buddy of mine who was in Special Forces, and I was asking him, like I didn't know his group was in country at the time. I'm like, hey, dude, what are you guys doing here? And he's like, we're just destroying stuff that the media says doesn't exist. That's weapons of mass destruction. But like, hey, that was his way of telling me, without telling me.
Yeah.
So they flew a little group of us out there. What they were doing was they were flying out, setting the trucks down. Helicopter would come by and pick it up. And they were just flying them back and forth to Bragg. It was basically just 2 circuits. I was the highest ranking guy out there at the time, so I was in charge of all we call them strap hangers, just like, hey, we just threw a bunch of voluntold volunteers, like you report here, you're going. So one helicopter brought in the packs, and then 2 helicopters brought in the trucks. And I guess we were out there a couple hours. We ended up staying from sundown. We got there a little bit before sundown, and we left a little bit before sunup, because I remember when I got back to base at Bragg, the sun was starting to come up. But we were out there for a couple hours, and guys were setting up their little, you make it a training thing, right? So you set up your LPOP, you set up your perimeter, you do some stuff. And one of my jobs is troop the lines, right? So, hey, make sure you're doing everything right. Everybody's, nobody's doing something they're not supposed to. We don't lose anybody, because if we lose somebody, I have to do a lot of paperwork. And one thing you will learn about me is I don't like paperwork. Especially Army paperwork. It's really hard. So we were out there for a couple hours, and then one of the guys who's on one of the gun trucks, he has set up the scope on his tow system. So if you're not familiar with the tube launch, optically tracked wire guided missile system, it's the little missile that goes on top of the Humvees.
Okay.
When there's no missile in it, it's just like a tube. Okay, and the scope. Now, when I was down in the 82nd, we had a really, really good scope. But since I was in the Corps headquarters, they were using the older scope, which had an older night vision scope. Not nearly as good as the one I had in the 82nd. So I'm out there, I'm doing my thing, and one of the guys sitting in the gun is like, he's intently looking through the scope. And he's flagging, hey, sir, we got, we're using those guys to make sure nobody wanders off in the woods, because they've told us, like, there's a big forest back there. Don't let people go over there. We're on this guy's property. So if you can think forest, us on this guy's property, and then over here, ways away, not to scale for all you engineer types, is like a little small, like you can see houses, right? They're pretty far apart, but you can see houses. So like everybody and their brother over there can hear these birds coming in and setting down, and we can see this guy's little farm like he's got a little farmhouse over there, right? So I'm assuming this was probably some special operator's property that he was just allowing them to come trade in. So kid flags me down. I'm like, what? And he's pointing out in front of his truck, like 12 o'clock position at the forest. He's like, we got a guy out there who's lost. I'm like, what are you talking about? As far as I know, no one's moved forward to the trucks at this point. Excuse me. And he's like, I'm watching this guy out in the woods and he looks lost because he's just kind of meandering around. Now on the night vision FLIR systems, they show white black. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So white is hot.
I played
black
Call of Duty.
Is cold. Okay. Yeah. So in 2000, the one I had down in the 82nd was really, really good. Okay. This one is like Gen 1, so it's not as good. I'm losing some, like, you're going from like top line to the starter.
Yeah. Amazon to Temu.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the older unit that they were phasing out of the army. But this is what they had. So this is what they were using at the core. And I'm like, he's pointing this way, and I'm looking at everybody else that's like, so he's pointing at 12 o'clock, and everybody else is from 9 to 6, right? Or like 3 to 9. Like they're behind us. And I'm like, so I have really good night vision. I walk around in the dark with no night vision on. The only time I break out my night vision goggles is typically to do something very specific, like, okay, well, there's a little mass of people over there. I need to see exactly how many of them are over there. So I'm counting bodies because I know I have about 16 people up there. 3 trucks, 16 people. 16. I got everybody. What is this guy talking about? So I'm looking in this truck because there's usually 3 dudes in a truck. And I'm like, 1, 2, you're 3. I got 16 people. What are you talking about? And he's like, I'm telling you, sir, something
is out
there.
Like,
oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, so like this is what I do. I'm an airborne infantry guy. We hunt people. That's our job. Like we're hunting 2-legged predators. So I'm like, okay, show me what you're looking at. He's like, I got the scope right on it. I'm like, okay. So I climb up on the truck. I look out of the way and I look, and I'm watching something that looks a lot like me, but just a little bit different. It looks like, it's fairly close, like not that deep into the woods. And where we are in the woods and the time of year, the underbrush has died back. So you can kind of, if you ever been out to, well, you're in Tennessee, so you know how the brambles and the come along vines all grow up and then they die down.
Yeah,
the more you get into winter,
you can see in there a little bit more.
Yeah, so I'm like, so I look and I'm like, man, that guy is big. And then I'm I'm watching it kind of, move around. It's like, looks like somebody looking for something, so I can see why he's saying that. Except now I'm looking at it enough, and this blob is like, doesn't really have a neck. It looked like it should just be a couple 100 feet past the front of the truck, and I should be able to see that. So I'm like, I'm looking here, I'm looking with my night vision, and I can't see it on my night vision. So the PVS 14 night vision goes out a couple 100 yards. After that, you need a 3-power magnifier to really see some distance. So I'm back on this thermal FLIR thing, and I'm looking. I'm like, hey, pull out your laser rangefinder. Tell me how far that is. And now, I want you to understand, I'm almost 2 feet wide, and I'm 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with my shoes on. It looks like me. What I'm used to seeing somebody my size through this piece of equipment, like I'm like, how big they are in the reticle. I'm like, well, it should be about my size. Well, he's like, boop. And I can see it hit the guy who turns at the waist, which I was like, well, that's weird. And you can tell that you can't really see anything. It's just kind of white, but it turns around and then it turns back and walks off, and 5 steps, it's gone. One of the things that I noticed about it when it was going was arms were wrong. Right? When it's moving, it's moving through the brush. I know how people move during the brush. It didn't move like I move through the brush at night. Just kind of walks off. 5 steps, it's gone. I'm like, how far was that? He's like, sir, that's close to 1,000 meters in there. And I'm like, that thing was big. Like, at 1,000 meters in that scope, it should have been, if it was my size, right, in the little reticle, it should have been smaller than where it was.
Now, just for the layman, and I'm including me here, I'm not familiar with meters. Like how many feet or yards would that be, roughly?
I want to say it's 2.2 feet. So it's a good ways, right? Like it's like 1,000 plus feet or 8. It's probably. I need my phone to do the conversion. But I mean, it's in the woods, right? Like it's in the woods. Like in my mind, I'm like, this thing should be
2,200 feet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's in there. Like you can see the tree branches and stuff, and then it's like 5 steps and it's gone. And he's looking. Now he's asking me. He's like, "Is that a bear, sir?" And I'm like, arms are too, like I'm doing all the things, right? Like, no, bears have ears. They stand up. They stand like that. And I'm like thinking like everything I've ever seen. They don't swing. The thing that caught me was this distance from where the elbow broke to the hand. Like it just familiar but wrong. My brain was like familiar but wrong. Okay. So he was like, well, what was that, sir? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was Bigfoot. He was like, no, that was a bear, right, sir? And I'm like, bears walk off on 2 legs? And he was like, no, that was a person, right, sir? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what they say. He's like, no, sir. He's like PFC. So he's, 18 to 20. Right. I was like, you know what they say, right? He was like, no, sir. I was like, what happens in the field stays in the field. Okay. My brain that was late 2003, early 2004-ish. My brain has gone back to that moment time and time and time again. Do you know when I decided that was a Bigfoot?
When was that?
You seen the Stacy Brown video that was on Finding Bigfoot? By the way, I love that show, Finding Bigfoot. I love anything Bigfoot, obviously. Stacy Brown's got a really famous Bigfoot video of a Bigfoot stepping from one tree to the next in like one step. Right? Remember what I said. What happens in the woods, what happens in the field stays in the field. I'm sitting in my room with my wife. She is enjoyingly-ish watching Finding Bigfoot with me. God bless her.
It's a good woman.
Yeah, Stacy Brown shows that video on Finding Bigfoot. And as soon as I saw that thing take a step, I was like, I'm yelling in my room. That's what I saw. That's what I like, the elbow to hand measurement, the leg, knee, like the way it looked when it moved. She was like, "That's what you saw where? What?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't tell you about that." Okay, now I got to tell you about the story in 2004. This is 2014.
Okay, yeah, it's a
This
decade
is 10
later.
years later, right? Yeah, so she's like, yeah, okay. All right. She knows weird things happen around me. So so I'm like, okay, I've decided after years of mulling that experience over and over and over again and not being able to go, that could have been a bear, or that could have been a this, or that could have been that video by Stacy Brown convinced me that's what I saw. Okay.
Because you do, that's normal instinct though. When you have an experience like that, you try to talk yourself down, or you try to rationalize it because you try to wrap it in a framework that you're familiar with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't rule it out, but it was like, that's way down on the list of possibilities. I've seen bear. Like, I went to Fort Lewis for advanced camp when I was becoming an officer, and it was not uncommon for me to find a black bear. It's summertime in Washington State. You're out in the woods. You're going to spot a black bear. They're going to stand up and look at you. Okay. So, I mean, I'm like, either this is a bear that I've never seen before that just decided for whatever reason to walk away on two legs, or this is something else that I don't know what it was. Maybe it really was a big person. I don't know. I don't know enough about the whole Kandahar giant thing. I've never seen giants in the United States, so yeah. But yeah, that convinced me.
Now, you said that you had two Bigfoot experiences, so I'm guessing by the way you're framing this, when you figured out in your head and convinced yourself that is what you saw, this was before the second encounter?
Yes. Because the thing that stuck to me was, once I tell you this, you'll see it everywhere. When people walk, they have an up-down movement.
Mm-hmm.
Deer don't have that. Deer move like deer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We agree. Dogs move like dogs. Cats move like cats. Yeah, like everything has its own little movement, locomotion. Like, and once you see the movement, you're like, oh, that was probably a this based on what I could see of it as it was running, and then the type of movement.
And you do, but man, it takes like somebody with your mindset to actually pinpoint that. You know what I'm saying? Because your military background, you file things mentally different than us normies.
Yeah. Well, so, and also like I learned, just because my neurodivergent brain. So you're aware I'm dyslexic. I'm dyscalculic. I grew up in a very, very traumatic household. So I was already experiencing PTSD before I went to war. I just didn't know that's what it was. I just thought that's what it was. So threat, like the way people behave, micro mannerisms, all those things I've been tracking for years. I just didn't know how to communicate to people like, these are the things that I'm seeing. Way to go, therapy.
Well, I'm glad you
So-
explained that, because you threw that big $20 word out, man. My trailer park brain didn't know what the hell you were talking about. So I'm glad you broke that down.
I learned this term. It's called complex PTSD, and I didn't know what that meant. And then it's like, oh, well, you have multiple PTSD experiences. I know there's a bigger definition, but that's how she had to break it down for me to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it. People, when they move through the woods, right? We move through the woods way more cautiously unless we're under duress, right? So when you see people run and they trip and they fall, you're like, that's legit. The rest of the time, we kind of move, but we always maintain this little bob. That little bob picks up when we run. You with me?
Yeah.
So now that I've told you that, you're going to see somebody jogging down the road and you're going to go, oh yeah, I see it. You like, if you're not familiar with it now, the next time you see it, you go like, oh, that's what he's talking about. It didn't do that. It just kind of like, when you watch a deer and it decides to start walking, it just starts walking. There's no wasted movement, nothing. The second time I was already running Squatch. We were driving through eastern Texas, north of Beaumont, headed towards Leesville, Louisiana, which is someplace I was when I was a kid. My phone is blowing up. Sorry, man.
Oh, you're good.
And I'm trying to think. Were we headed there? I think we were on our way home. I think we're on our way there. But I'm driving down the road, and it's just, one lane going this way, one lane going this way. And that area of Louisiana, big pine forest, right? But I mean, 10 miles that way is Texas. So I'm driving. It's kind of a curvy road, and I'm starting to get the road hypnotism because we got I'm just kind of cruising, and you're here, right? Your field of vision is like that 3-5 car lengths down the road.
Yeah, zoned out. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I'm just cruising, and then I see something. So if my focus is here, I can see it up here, which means it's further down the road, right? So I'm going to have to shift my gaze to look further down the road. And as soon as I look up, I see this thing step out of the woods and step onto the road. And my brain goes, what's that? It takes another step. It's now what looks like about middle of the road because the road is curving. And my brain goes, oh, no, we know what that is. And it's clearly big, brown, furry, hairy. So my wife is following me in her car. I just romp on the gas. Just try and get down there as fast as I can. And it's probably, I don't know, a mile down the road. Like, I got clear line of sight. There's just these little bends in the road. So I'm like flying, but it's crossed the road and stepped off into the little bit of shoulder. And I'm getting down there as I'm like, okay, I saw it go into the woods about right there. So I slam on my brakes right there. Meanwhile, my wife, who's in the back of the car, dee singing, driving, having a good old time. She's like,
Where's the fire? He just took the hell
why
off.
Is he? Yeah, she's like, so I start stepping on the gas to catch up, and then you slam on the brakes, and then just stop in the middle of the highway. So I'm calling her. She's calling me. I'm calling her. I'm like, I answer the phone. I'm like, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? And she was like, see what? I'm like, it was huge, crossed the road in like 5 steps, and it's into the woods. I can't even see it. Like, I couldn't even see where it went through the woods. And this was like summertime, so the brush is thicker. You would like,
Do you have a lot of laurels out there, like Louisiana, Texas? I know in Tennessee that we have a lot of laurels, and the
Okay, that's
Harley
a
Owens,
Tennessee
he talks
term.
about all the time about they like to get in the thickets and get down in those laurels a
Yeah,
lot.
there's so in eastern Texas we have a lot of that.
Hmm.
Okay, there's like the underbrush is thick. Reminds me of North Carolina, especially between the pine trees, which I imagine is a lot like Tennessee.
Yeah.
You just get the brush. So you're like, hey, I'm looking at the woods. I can see all the trees, but I can see all the the crap between it that's growing, the tall grass, the brambles, and the whatever else is growing out there. I just stood there for a while and looked. Didn't see anything. Drove off down the road. My wife is like, didn't see it. Didn't see it. So, yeah, that was my second. Between those events, yeah, 2014. Between seeing the first one, 2004, seeing the second one, which was probably closer to COVID, like 2019. I started Squatch Survival Gear. So I started Squatch Survival Gear 2017. Is that right? Seems right. Seems close. So 2014, I got attacked by killer bees. I'll circle back to that. But surviving the killer bees was literally the closest I've ever been to death. But by the grace of God, I am still with us. 2017, I started Squatch Survival Gear on the collapsing of the first business I was ever involved in. We ended up, after we, paid off everybody we could pay off before folding that, I think I had $500 left. And so I called Red Rock Outdoor Gear, and I'm always going to rep them because I had $500. I had talked to like 3-4 different people. I'm like, I want to sell bags. I want to get outdoors. I want to do outdoorsy stuff. And they were the only people that would deal with me.
Yeah. Shout out to Red Rock.
Yeah, Red Rock Outdoor Gear. Like, they make a good quality, low end product. But they were like, yeah, it's guess how much it was to get your first shipment from Red Rock to become a vendor?
$500.
$500. So I was like, okay, I guess God's saying, let's do this. So that's what we did while I was working on how do we create, stuff like what you got, like your Mothman. This is a Rougarou. Fungies.
Yep.
And
I love mine, by the way.
Yeah, it's like I'll ruin you. I tell people all the time, I will ruin you. Like, nobody believes me.
I've never had a good bag, and I was one of those guys that, hell, I mean, why you got to pay extra for it's the same thing you get at Walmart? No, it's not. Once you have the bag like this, you will never go back and get any of that Walmart crap again.
Yeah, so I spent the next 6 months till 2018 talking to, like, first of all, I found out there is not a lot of U.S. manufacturers of gear at all, and all of them are tied to the military industrial complex. None of them hardly are taking on people. So I just started going through the list, telling, hey, I want to build this. I want to build it in America. Everybody I talked to was like, well, if we offshore this, you can make so much more money. I was like, well, why would I offshore this? They were like, well, Pakistan and India and China. And I'm like, I'm not giving money to people who tried to kill me. Sorry. I didn't go to war and fight in 2 countries to not come home and start a business and put Americans to work.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're doing. So I used to tell people, tie back to the first failed business. The first failed business, we had manufacturer who made gear. So I called that guy. And I didn't think he would take my call because like he was pretty sour when I found out how mismanaged the business was. And so he had been like, hey, I need X amount of money. Like, you guys owe me this. And I got him paid. So I called him because I'm like, well, he's kind of my last resort. And I know he makes stuff in America. And I called him. And he was like, Chris, to do what you're talking about, this is going to be a very expensive product. So here's what I said. I said, I'm building Abrams tanks and I'm building Lamborghinis. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, Lamborghinis they're a high-end product that lasts. Like, when you have a Lambo, it doesn't quit on you. If you have an Abrams tank, that thing's a beast. It's not going to quit on you. And I'm tired of having gear that quit on me. And he's like, okay. He said, okay. We did the first production run of, I think, the Rock Ape pack, because it was basically just a pack that.
That's your big daddy, ain't it? That's your big one.
Oh, no. The Sasquatch is the big one.
Oh, okay.
That's a big one. And that's actually a product that I didn't know I had helped consult on from my other partner. And it was just a good product. We ended up making it for somebody else. They went bankrupt. That product came back in-house. And we started selling it again. David, God bless him and his business, he's like a second dad to me. Like, he has been so good to me. And he didn't understand the Lamborghini reference. And I'm like, I kept saying, I'm like, well, if people would just listen to me, like, I wouldn't have to do this, but nobody wants to do it my way, right? Everybody wants to do it the cheap way.
That's what I was about to say. Business is programmed for profit margins. Go for the cheapest thing you can, and if it breaks down, that's great, because then they have to get another one. It's kind of like the iPhones. I think they program those things to go out every couple of years. That way you have to get a new one. Those updates, don't get them, guys. I think they're viruses. Yeah.
Well, they've actually been sued. Their updates were slowing the previous model. Mm-hmm. Like, as soon as the new model comes out, they do an update and it starts slowing the phone. It makes you want to jump. And so one of the things that I learned, I didn't know this at the time. Here I am talking about Lamborghini, and I was watching, I don't know, some YouTube. It was talking about Lamborghinis, so I'm like, I'm gonna watch. I've had Lamborghinis on my wall since I was like 12.
Yeah.
Right. So
I've had the posters and little Matchbox cars, but I've never had my butt in one.
Yeah, me neither. It's a hashtag life goals, right? So, turns out, I don't know if you know the story of Lamborghini, but he used to drive Ferraris. Ferrari was the car back in the day, right? Like 50s, 60s. And Lamborghini made tractors in Italy. They made farm equipment, V12 specifically, in their tractors. And I
just cannot imagine that. A Lamborghini tractor.
Yeah, that's why the bull.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So he went to Ferrari because his only complaint with the Ferrari was the clutches kept going out because he put too weak a clutch in there. Right? Now, he deals with tractors and crap. So the clutch in the tractors is like... So he went to Enzo Ferrari and was like, hey, I've got these designs. If you just change a clutch this way, they wouldn't go out so much. You'd have a better car. You know what Enzo Ferrari told him?
Probably laughed at him.
1,000%. He said, "You worry about tractors, I'll worry about sports cars." You know what Lambo did?
Oh, probably give him the big middle fingers. Like, well, I'll show you then.
That's exactly what he did.
Amen.
So
is he part American?
I mean, I don't know where that spirit of America went, but I want it back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all this time I'm out there telling people, and like here I am doing my version of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just doing everything I can to bring American made back to America. Evidently, though, I didn't know this. I started 2 years after Origin. So Jocko's company, like he talks about, they've been at it for 10 years. I'm like, well, I've been at it for 8, and it's an uphill battle, man. It's like people don't even know what quality is.
With the price of eggs and bread slowly approaching a day's wages, it's more important than ever than to secure the value of your dollar. One thing that has remained steady is gold and silver throughout the ages. Back in Roman times, a piece of gold would get you a toga. That's the equivalent of $3,000 today. That still remains true to this day. For a full suit, shoes, tie, you're looking at about $3,000. Because gold and silver holds its value. So if you're tired of watching the value of your dollar go down every single day, it's time to get off your hands and make a move. I've recently teamed with Cornerstone Asset Metals. Reach out to those guys for all of your financial needs. It's time to trade in that forever devaluing dollar into hard assets that you can hold, like gold and silver. Be sure and check the link down in the description or the number on the screen. And hey, tell them Doc Brown sent you.
Once you have some, like I was in the Oklahoma Army National Guard when I was enlisted, and the first piece of gear I ever had fail on me was a pack. And that stuck with me. And then it just kind of kept happening. And it kept happening in combat zones where I was like, somebody should make this where it's not made by the lowest bidder, blah, blah, blah. And it's...
Yeah. My papa used to always complain about metal and stuff, and he'd always say, that old Chinese pot metal.
Hey, that's a real thing. When I worked in scaffolding in the oil field, they started talking about bringing in metal from China, and it was having their scaffold. They'd make it to our specs, and it was having a lot of problems. So I believe it. There's no incentive with this. Is what people don't really understand. There's no incentive in communism to do it better, right? It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get what they told you you're going to get, and that's it. So it doesn't matter if you do one more or one less. That's all you're getting. Like, it doesn't matter if you solve a problem or not. Your bonus is you got to live. You didn't go to a prison that day. And that's the side we don't ever talk about anymore.
Yeah. And all the sweat labor shops, it's like everybody talks about the Nikes. Everybody loves them Nikes, man, and they're paying $200, $250 for these Jordan 1s, but they're made by a bunch of children in Taiwan making 50 cents an hour.
Well, they're probably made by Uyghur slaves now. I'm not going to swear to that. Don't quote me on that. But, a lot of the stuff in China is made by Uyghur slaves or just compelled labor. So I know a guy who does saw blades out of China. He's Taiwanese, but he's got family in the mainland, so he goes over there. And I was like, hey, check out this factory. I want to understand how they run their factory. So he took some pictures, and he's like, yeah, so you go up the stairs, they have the big doors. Everything looks impressive, right? It looks impressive. And he's like, and as you walk into the factory, there are these 2 doors on either side. So you go in the main way, door. And I'm like, that's weird. What's that for? He goes, that's where they put the cots. And I was like, so they're sleeping there? He goes, no. He goes, the way it works is they run their lines like 3-4 times a day. They'll have a line. And he's like, if you called in sick, you lost your slot on the line, you go to the end of the cot line when you come back. They just go to the next guy on the cot line and put him in your job. And then when you come back, so if there's 50 cots in there, you started at 50, you may be waiting there every day. But that's your job, right? You got to be there. Like, it didn't matter if you didn't work. You're there until they put you back to work. And I was just like, that's insane to me. But yeah, so I got tired of, I tell people, anybody who'll listen to us, we're in the relentless pursuit of the most comfortable and functional packs made in America, right? Like, that's what we do. Because I figured out, if you can solve the comfort problem on a pack, you can increase two types of endurance, right? So you can increase mental endurance. And if you increase mental endurance, often you're increasing your physical endurance. So if you actually build a pack that's like ergonomic, right, then it's going to wear better, right? So you're going to be able to increase your endurance because you're not fighting this pack. And I'm sure you've worn a backpack where you're like, why won't the strap stay on here? Or it's not in the right place, or it's cutting off circulation.
Digging into my trap.
Yeah, just little things like that. But when you actually set out to build something that's comfortable to wear, you do away with what I call the rock in the shoe effect. So if you've ever had like a rock in your shoe, you know, like after a while, that's all you can think about, like this rock rattling around in your shoe. And then if you can stop and shake the rock out, great. But if not, you know, hey, I'm going to end up with some blisters, some hot spots. Well, that changes your gait, that changes your endurance. All those things work against you over time. So, I wanted to solve a lot of those
I'll brag
problems.
on you too. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I was going to brag on you too, because that's the thing. You don't know about the Lamborghini until you have the Lamborghini. Okay. And like you said, I've had backpacks, man, that I travel a lot. I'm out in the woods. So I actually got to take this on a couple trips and conferences with me, man. And it was so nice. If you can see, guys, look how thick this strap is.
It's a 3/4 of an inch. Yeah. And then the padding that we use isn't so backpack standard is a 1/4 of an inch up to about 3/8 of an inch of open-celled foam. Okay. What is open-celled foam? You know, when you get packages and they give you that sheet of foam, it's like a big long sheet and you can see all the bubbles that are popped, but they're all still together. That's open-celled foam. Do you know what it does when it gets compressed? It collapses. Right? So we used a better foam. And originally when I started this, I went to the production house in New Hampshire, as I call it, my version of NORAD. It's locked away in the woods. It's this beautiful, butts up into the woods. It's like nested back there like its own survival bunker, but that's where all the gear is made. And I went there and we were looking at foams and they were telling me about this open cell foam, which is what everybody uses, but this is a better quality foam. And they're showing it to me and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, this is good. Let's use this. And I'm like, what's the difference in cost? He's like, at the time, it was like 10 cents a linear yard, which is nothing. In the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about backpack straps, it's nothing. I literally, I had a PTSD moment. I had to leave the building and scream some nasty words into the woods. But yeah, I realized like my crooked spine and my crooked neck and all that is from the lowest bidder.
Those terrible packs.
Yeah, just, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's soft too. That's what I was going to say is like, if you do get straps with pads in them. They're just stiff, stiff as stiff can be. But you can see, watch how much it collapses when I push in and just rebounds right back.
Well,
And it's in
that's
the back too, guys. He's got, look at
air
this.
channels.
And down here at the lower back too. How many times have you wore a backpack and it's the strap and backpack's just digging into your shoulder blades, pushing against that sucker? Or if you got something like a laptop or something like it with some hard edges at the bottom, stabbing you in the lower back, you don't have any of that with this thing. And when I travel, I try my best to, especially if I'm flying, just to get by with a bag. So I have this bag fully loaded down, but it was a world of difference with just the pads alone.
How much weight? Like, tell people how much weight you think you put in there. Do you ever weigh that thing after you get it loaded?
No,
Throw
I've
it on
never
a
weighed
scale.
it. I mean, if I was guessing, and this is the Mothman, I'd say it was probably every bit of 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
Yeah, throw it on a scale sometime and find out. Like, you could do some heavy weight on that for sure. Like, that's why we made it. That was, I wanted to make something that was more backpack size, as opposed to like the Cockamora rucksack or the Rock Ape or the Grassman or the really big Yowie and the Sasquatch, which are traditional army-sized rucks. They're massive. They're like what I had when I was in. And that's something else. I started modifying my pack while I was at Fort Bragg, which, by the way, your battalion commander will not like. If you were in the Army and you were modifying the exterior of your pack, I'm telling you right now, your battalion commander is going to hate you. Your company commander is going to hate you. Don't do it without approval. I have the letters of reprimand to show you. So, fair bit of advice. But if you get a letter of acceptance or whatever, well, I'll sell them to you all day. I'll sell them to your unit. I don't care. Because it will improve your endurance just because it's comfortable to wear. I'm sure you've seen it walking through airports and you're like, if once you start seeing people trying to fiddle with their pack and once you know what they're doing, like you'll like that guy that's like, he's trying to get that pack. Yeah. He's trying to get that pack to ride right.
And what's cool too is like all these big bags you see that actually do have this belt strap, and this has got it. And once again, it's got that really thick foam in it. Yep. But it slides through this back pad. So all the ones I've ever seen, it's like if it's got it, it's got it. You're stuck with it. So if you don't like this or don't need this, it slides right out. So
yeah, you just
I really like that.
Yeah, when we ship them, we actually ship them folded up in there. I loved the Mothman. The Night Howler, which is the small one, is the one my kid designed, my 12-year-old. So those are all on clearance. That's like if you're looking for a great little EDC starter pack and you just want to try us, you only got one choice of color, which is Coyote, but Coyote's a great color.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Doc's
I like
got.
it.
We've clearanced them out till we do another run of them sometime next year. You want to hear?
So what are those running right now? If somebody's listening and they're like curious about it,
like $129, so like $35 off. It's like $124 or $129, so like $35 off. Like that's the wholesale cost for that, basically. Right? We're
You're just
making
kind of clearing your inventory for the new year.
Yeah, like to. Got plenty of Rougarous on hand. Rougarous are just $185 to $225. I don't think we have any multicam left, so they should all be around there. But go to the website, squatchsurvivalgear.com, look through it. You can even get a Don't Play with the Wildlife if you haven't seen those videos. And if you ever wonder why is Squatch always talking about Don't Play with the Wildlife, you'll never guess what line of duty inspection I had to do the most when I was in the Army. Guys that got bit by wildlife or stung by wildlife. I'm like, oh, well, what were you doing? Well, sir, we were getting a camel spider to fight the scorpion. We wanted to see who would win. And let me guess, you got stung by the scorpion and bit by the camel spider. Oh, yes, sir. Which part of the safety brief, when I said don't play with the wildlife, did you misunderstand? It's pretty
And
simple.
more paperwork.
And more paperwork. Well, I hated paperwork. Like that, like people. I see these videos like, oh, look at the porcupine. I'm like, don't go over there. Right, and then the
Just
the
don't.
porcupine gets him, and I'm like, I literally have a PTSD moment because I know like witness statements, line of duty investigation, like got to go to the doc. Like it's a
Yeah.
thing. It's a thing, and it could have been avoided if you just looked at it from afar and went, "Okay, buddy, run along."
Yeah.
No.
I'll use a quote that my mom used to use on me all the time, and it was from one of her favorite movies at the time, but it was League of Their Own,
Mhm.
and Tom Hanks was the coach, and he was a drunk. He stayed
Yeah.
drunk most of the time in the dugout, but at one point he was fussing at one of the girls for making a bad play or something like that, and he comes out. He said, "Use your head. That's that lump. That's 3 foot above your ass."
That's a fact. We have something in the airborne community, which is pull your head out of your fourth point of contact. So when you do a parachute landing fall, it's balls of the feet, calf muscle, side of your leg, glute, push-up muscle. So your fourth point of contact is the glutes. So yeah, that's where that comes from. I can tell you about killer bees because I've been stung
Oh,
like
yeah.
150
Yeah.
times by killer bees.
Yeah, you had teased that earlier that you had a near-death experience, and that was with the bees.
Yeah, well, my buddy Mike Ann calls it. He's like, he feels like that was a near-death experience, and I'll do my best to kind of give you the condensed version, but not leave out the good parts. So it was July 2014. Had the honey-do list. The wife and the kids are off doing vacation Bible school, right? So they're working at vacation Bible school. My wife's teaching it. She's running crafts, and all the kids are there, right? I have my honey-do list. My honey-do list is cut the grass, cut the bushes, call somebody to remove the bees. And I'll send you a picture of what this beehive looked like, right? Because my wife referred to it as the Candyman beehive in the backyard. Just if you're familiar with that reference. But the beehive is about the guy who built this birdhouse, built it on 2 8-foot 4x4s, and then stuck this 2 foot by 2 foot, like 6 holes on each side. You know what I'm saying? Two deck birdhouse. But the year we bought the house 12 years ago, so I think we've been in the house about a year. When we first got there, we had European honeybees because that 16 feet of birdhouse was leaning at like a 60-degree angle. So my dad and I just shoved it back and braced it. I'm like, sweet, I'm getting honey in the spring. Well, late fall, they got going good. Well, what we didn't know had happened is sometime in the spring, a killer bee she had relocated that hive and took it over. And so their growth went from like, oh, I've got some bees to I have bees. Like bees. Like you can barely see the birdhouse for the bees. Bees. So, it's San Antonio in the summer, right? So it's like you wake up and it's 80 and it's going to get to 100 and something. So I'm like, I got to get out there. I got to mow the lawn. It's probably 10:30ish. I've like to trim the bushes in the front. Now I'm mowing the lawn in the back. I get stung by a bee. It happens. You get stung. You're mowing the lawn. You get stung by a bee or two. It's not a big deal. And then I got stung by another one. Then I got stung by another one. and I got stung by another one. And then I turned to look at the beehive, and I was watching this, like, all of them start to come down. So I think by that time I'd been stung like 5 or 6 times. I ran in the house to get away from them. By this time, they're starting to swarm in the backyard because evidently the lawnmower sounds like a rival bee gang. And it was like rumble in my backyard. My German Shepherd, white German Shepherd, Titan, God rest his soul, probably saved my life. He's in the backyard and they're going after him. And for the first time in my life, I did not have a plan preloaded for what to do. And so I literally had to, like, oh crap, what do I do? Well, I got to get my dog. So I opened the back door, called the dog. He didn't come. I got about 20 bees in the house, so I closed the door. Luckily, we're running the AC, so they're getting kind of lethargic. They're flying over to the kitchen window because the sun's over there. So now this is where the combat veteran, you know, airborne infantry guy, I'm like, I got to go get my dog. So I'm like, okay, I'll run around to the side of the house and I'll call him. Now, when I get outside the house and I get around to the back side of the house, it sounds like the lawnmower is still running. Except I know it's bees. So I open the gate and I call the dog. And I call the dog. I'm calling Titan. He's not responding. And so then I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof. This is 2025. So this is 11 years ago. 11 years ago. I'm like, okay, I'll run the gauntlet. I'll grab the dog and I'll go out at the other gate on the other side of the house because I got a drive-through gate on the other side. Okay? You with me? Take a deep breath. Go booking it. Come around the skinny side of the house into the backyard, and there's literally bees. I've never seen so many bees, and they are just all over the backyard. High depth. I'm like, they're hitting me. Psh, psh, psh. I see the dog. I run over and I grab the dog. I have not been stung this many times at this point. So I got stung initially, went in the house, and I've been stung a few more times. As I run through the breeze, I grab the dog, I pull the dog. I'm like, come on. So now he's coming. I turn to clear the other side of the house to go out the open pull-through gate. And then I realized that gate isn't open.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, not a problem. I am proficient at kicking in doors, so I just jumped up and kicked it open. I'm still being stung at this point. I know I'm being stung. And I'm going to run down the street. So, I'm starting to have breathing problems. I'm not even out of my front yard yet. I'm starting to have breathing problems. I get across the street. These suckers are still following me. And they're still stinging me. I go down. I'm thinking, like, my brain's on. I'm thinking, I'm having trouble. I'm starting to slow down. Okay, like, this is like watching a freight train come to like, I'm not walking yet. I'm still kind of, right? But I'm definitely, we're losing power. But I remember, like, just get this flash of this memory from when I was in elementary school at Fort Bragg at the McNair Library reading a Ranger Rick magazine. Are you familiar with Ranger Rick? It might be a little before your time. So Ranger Rick was like, a little cartoon raccoon guy. Use Ranger Rick. Don't play with the wildlife. He Google it. You can Google it. Like, he's still around. It's a digital format. But it's like a National Geographic for kids, and you can learn about insects and animals and stuff like that. So as a dyslexic, what was I doing? I was looking at the pictures, and then they put these little captions, like these little blow-up captions. And I vividly, just like, but by the grace of God, this this image pops up, and it's like, did you know a bee cannot fly with one drop of water on him?
That's what I was about to say. In a lot of the movies, they all jump in ponds or some kind of water.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a hose. It's South Texas. You can only hand water in the summer because drought. I clear the first house. Keep in mind, I'm slowing down. So making it to each additional house as I'm going down my street is getting harder. And I'm looking on both sides of the street for somebody who's got a hose. So I find one who's got a hose, except his hose isn't connected. So I'm like, okay, we'll go to the next one. I'm still being stung. I make it to the next one. I'm like 2 houses from the end of my street. It's almost a quarter of a mile to the end of my street. That's how far they've chased me. I am now having difficulty breathing. I am no longer running. I am barely walking. And this guy's got that little sprayer, like you spray the flowers. And so I'm like adjusting it so it does the big, how you can
spray.
It looks like a shield. It looks like Captain America's shield backwards, right? It's just like this big, wide spray pattern. And I remember turning around on these bees and watching the bees fly into this, and then it's like sheets. You're just watching hundreds of them fall out of the sky every time they hit it. And it was like you're watching them fall from levels. Right, so they're trying to go over, they're hitting it, and they're falling. They're coming straight at it and falling. They're trying to come under, and they're like, but they, some of them have made it around the long way, and they're stinging me in the back of the head, and the ears, and the face, and I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm shortness of breath. I'm starting to black out. I'm getting lightheaded, and I finally
start to swell shut and everything else at this point.
I don't know if they were swelling shut at that point, but I was like, it was bad. So I remember I think I was trying to sit down, and I ended up flat on my back, and I was having trouble squeezing the squeezer on the gun, which isn't very hard, but it was hard then. And at one point I'm trying to work this gun, and I'm watching like they have dimmed the sun coming down on me, and my dog Titan ran right through them, and that pissed him off, and they took him off that way. He did that twice. And that's probably why I didn't get stung thousands of times. But the last thing I saw before things went dark was my tennis shoes. I was still, I think at that point I had a muscle contraction. I was holding so I saw 2 things. So I'm like holding the hose. The hose is back on because I remember I'm being wet, but I can still, every time they sting me, it just feels like you remember those old joy buzzers you have when you're a kid, you twist them up? Mm-hmm. Like I'm like, okay, there's another one. There's another one. I remember looking at my sneakers, and I was like, well, I did not see that coming. Because I always thought if I was going to go, it'd have been in a combat zone with my combat boots on, not my sneakers.
Right.
And the second thing I saw as I was landing in the grass, the very wet grass at this point, I remember kind of looking over to the side, and I could see hundreds of bees crawling through the grass to assault the objective. Now, as a paratrooper, I'm like, that's pretty impressive. Those guys are like paratroopers. They just hit the dirt, and they're like, we're going to the objective. As a guy who's already been stung a whole bunch of times, we don't even know how many that is yet, I'm like, this is where I die. So eventually it gets, I get tunnel vision. It's getting really, really hard to breathe. It's harder and harder to breathe. The breath sounds are getting farther and farther apart, right? Like it's like, I'm becoming conscious, like, this is a really Okay. Totally black. The little stars are going, and they're just finally starting to like slow down. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this is it, God. It was really, really quiet, and there was this little whisper that goes, I got you. Clear as day. Like, that's the only thing I could hear. Couldn't hear the bees buzz anymore. Can you hear the water? I just heard this voice, just a whisper. I got you. And in that moment, I didn't believe. I knew. I knew I was coming back. And all of a sudden, everything started going in reverse. Things started getting brighter. Little stars sped up. Like, tunnel vision's coming back. My breath sounds are getting closer together. Ambulance finally arrives. Because at some point, I called 911 for help. Ambulance arrives. I'm starting to become more clear-headed, but I'm like very short of breath. And the guy that jumps out of the ambulance is like 5'6", 155 pounds. And he looks at me at 5'10", and I was like 235 pounds. He has this look on his face like, oh dear God, they told me when I became a paramedic, this day would come. And he looks at me and he goes, sir, you're a really big guy. Can you help me get up? And I was like, one part of my brain is like, are you kidding me? And the other part of my brain is like, just get up. So he helped me up. I got up. I got into the back of the ambulance. He got me on the thing. In the ambulance, there's a dude in a polo shirt sitting in there. Weird to me. Because he's not dressed like the other paramedic dude. So he's asking me questions. He's on the thing. I'm trying to answer him. I'm like, I just need some oxygen. I could probably answer your questions if I had some oxygen. Put me on oxygen. This guy goes, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I don't remember his name. White dude, blonde hair, big guy, about my size. And he's like, we're going to go ahead and push you up. We're going to give you epi. Okay? So he gives me full shot of epi. Like, they're having this discussion. How much epi? He was like, just give him a full shot of epi. So he gives me a full shot of epi. They then ask me my address. The paramedic's asking me information. He's telling it to dispatch. Dispatch, like, they keep asking this question. How many times has he been stung? How many times has he been stung? And, he's like, he's like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. And they're like, then they start asking, is it more than 50? Just count. Is it more than 50? He's like, oh yeah, it's more than 50. They're like, roll with the lights on. Okay. I'm 15 minutes if you stop for all the lights, 17 if you catch them all, to the closest hospital, because I live in the medical side of San Antonio. We're not even out of the neighborhood yet. The doc's like, we're going to go ahead and push another epi. I'm not really thinking anything about it. They're panicked. I know I'm going to be fine at that point. I know. I got you. I'm fine. We roll to the ER at University Hospital. They pull me in, right? And I go all the way through the ER. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but my little brother's a trauma PA. And I go all the way back to the ER into this other little room where there's all this equipment and a whole team like waiting. And as they come around the corner, I'm on the gurney. The little paramedic dude, his spirits are lifted because he's like, this guy's responding really, really well. I am red. My wife said I'm red like a tomato. Not quite that color red, but she's like, you're red and you're swollen. I don't know this. I don't know how I look. But I evidently look so bad that the entire trauma team was like, yay, we got a trauma. And when they saw me, they're like, he's probably going to die. Like, they just had that look like, and I was like, I'm going to be fine. Let's just get to work. Put that back on. They started trying to pull, like I could see all the stingers. I could see them. And they decide, I want you to understand, I'm a fuzzy fella. Okay, there's a lot of manscaping that goes into this. And they're like, we're going to use tape to pull them out. For all y'all who aren't familiar with bees, they have a barb. They don't come out like that. You cannot take them out. All you do is rip off body hair. I don't know. That hurt. That hurt worse than the bees at that point because my skin is already on fire and they're just like, we'll just rip out your hair too. So then I was like, I don't mean to tell y'all how to do your job, but aren't you supposed to use like a card or something? And they're like, oh yeah, tongue depressors. It took them a second to get tongue depressors. They were like, oh, we don't have anything. And I'm like, you're wearing a little badge right there. I pulled it because it's on a little tassel. I was like, that'll probably work. At the end of my foot, there's a naval corpsman.
Sitting on the verge of death and having to tell them how to do their job.
They were pretty sure I was on the verge of death. I wasn't worried about dying anymore. Like I had gone from, I'm back. I thought it was weird though. I'm like, there's a Navy corpsman standing at the end of and he's just observing. That's weird. So basically the entire military trains in San Antonio and they send people to trauma. Okay. To get them trained up. This kid pulls out his military ID and that's what they're using to scrape all of these things off me for the longest time till they get tongue depressors. You with me? And I thought, that's weird. At this point, I'm talking to him. My phone's ringing because the paramedic or the fire department had taken my dog to a vet. So they're calling my phone. I'm on my phone with the dog. They're like, hey, sir, can you get off your phone? Now, I want you to understand the first thing they did when they got me into that room, remember this. First encounter, I had a shot of Epi. I hadn't even gotten out of my neighborhood. I had another shot of Epi. So it's like 5 minutes later. I'm now at probably the 20-minute mark. The first thing they did was push another shot of Epi. And then the paramedic's like, he's already had 2. So I'm on 3. Now, I'm just a dumb infantryman. So it took my little brother, the PA, to actually tell me. And some of my medic buddies, they're like, Chris, if you gave a 2x4 enough epinephrine, it'll give you a heartbeat. It'll get up and walk around on its own. I was like,
you were jacked and ready to go.
Oh, yeah. And then, so as this is going on, I'm getting more and more agitated, which I'm told is a common side effect of that much Epi. They're like, hey, sir, can you get off the phone? So I'm talking to them.
So you go like, primal, after
like,
a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm trying to save my dog. No. My wife finally shows up. She stands at because you can see out. She comes in and she looks at me and she's got this look like, oh, dear God, he's going to die. And the medical staff's telling him like, no, he's going to be fine. We've never seen this before. This doesn't happen. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been into it. That back room is where they send you when you're going to die. Like, that's...
When I chopped my toes off, I went to that room. But not that I was going to die, but it was a small town and it was something big, so everybody was back there.
Like, but all the equipment's back there. I didn't know that's what it was. I was just like, hey, this is a fancy room back here in the ER. My little brother's like, no, dum-dum. That's where we put you if, like, time is of the essence.
Care.
Yeah, life-saving care is there. You're circling the drain, dum-dum. Like, I was good. I already knew I was good. My wife comes in. One of our pastors comes in to check on me. I'm there most of the day until they stop talking. They put me off in a little room in the ER, like off the ER, and like left me there until I was like, the vet's like, hey, what are we doing with your dog?
So the
I'm
dog
like,
made it. I mean, that's something I've been itching to ask, but I didn't want to interrupt your story because I know you said God rest his soul. I was like, oh man, did he die protecting you?
he 100% did.
Oh,
They called me. They were like, hey, we really need to see you to figure out what we're going to do. And I'm like, okay. Got up. Of course, I had already asked. I'd been asking every hour on the hour, like, hey, I'd like to go home. I'd like to go home. When you get up and you start pulling stuff off and alarms go off, you get some attention. Room got full. I'm like, I'm leaving. They're like, well, you're leaving against our wishes. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't have insurance. What are you going to do? They're like, well, you could have some problems. So this is what I didn't understand. They wanted me to stay because they wanted me to come down off the epi because they thought my heart was going to stop.
Are you a hunter, a hiker, or just an outdoor enthusiast? Well, if you are, you know that good quality gear is hard to come by. And finding all-American made is like finding Bigfoot in the woods. Hence the name of Squatch Survival Gear. Head on over to squatchsurvivalgear.com. Use the code PLP10 for 10% off store-wide.
it's gonna
Like-
explode.
Yeah, like my little brother's like, they were waiting for you to stroke, dude. Like, you should have stroked. He was like, the cure could have killed you. Should have killed you. I was like, nah, it's good. God had already told me I'm good. We go to the vet. The dog basically held on until he saw that I I made it.
Oh,
Like, as soon as he knew, like, she was like, you came here to check on him. You took him outside to go to the bathroom. And she's like, God called him home. So yeah, I am here because of my white German Shepherd Titan, and just because God's like, I guess I'm not done with you yet, of which I am thankful for, and all glory to God. I am still here. The first time I ever told that story to anybody on a podcast was Bo Kennedy, and he pointed something out to me. He's like, "Oh, I love that. He just told you." I got you. And I'm like, yeah, I knew I was back. And he goes, but it works the other way too. I was like, wait, what? And he's like, I got you works the other way too. If he'd called you home to heaven right then, he's telling you, I got you.
yeah. Either way.
Yeah, he's like, either way, either you were going back and I got you, or you're coming home and I got you. It's not going to be your problem anymore. He goes, but you knew you were coming back. And I was like, I didn't think of that. And I think I didn't think of that because as soon as I heard that, I was instantly improving, like instantly. So my buddy Mike Ann's like, because I've seen some really wild stuff since then. He's like, you got just a little too close to the edge. He's like, now you're seeing stuff. I'm like, I don't know
I've heard a couple people say that.
Like
Bennett,
I can,
my buddy from Broadcasting Seeds, he said that he drowned and he flatlined for a long time. He said it was like they said it was a miracle that they brought him back. And they's like, well, even if he does come back, he's going to have brain damage because he was without oxygen for this long. But he came back, made a full recovery. But he says that he has a lot of experiences now and says that he can even see like energies and auras of people. He said since that accident.
I don't see that. Oh, let me tell you this piece. I don't know how you work it in, but do you know why they kept saying like 50? Because has he been stung more than 50 times? Is it 50 or more? Is it 50? 50 is like it. That's like what kills most people. I got stung 150 times.
Oh my God.
That's why everybody was looking at me like, oh, this guy's dead. Because in that same hospital, not a month before, just like a couple weeks before, some dude got stung 50 times and he was dead. Like there was nothing they could do for that dude. So now I see things. I've seen some things move around. I don't really pay them much mind. I just tell them, I'm like, well, if you're not here from Jesus, go away. Because I imagine if they're here from Jesus and they have a message, they're probably going to look at me like, shut up. Right? But everything else seems to leave. They seem to attract people who are struggling with what I would term oppression, which drives me crazy. One of them is my mother, which I never would have, like, if you'd have told me that prior to 2014, I'd have been like, no way, she's just mentally ill. She came to the office one day. I was having a really bad day, and my mother just exasperates me. And she comes in, she's got this very narcissistic type behavior. She comes in and she's like, she said something. I'm like, Mom, you're not supposed to be here. I got up from my desk here and button hooked out. It's not very far, and I can see right into the living room, right into the waiting area. And I remember as I left there, I was like, please, God, I don't have time for this today. I can't deal with this today. I just make this go away. And I watched my mother. Keep in mind, at the time, my mother was like 75. She walks with a cane. She doesn't walk very well. It looked like something grabbed her, like she was a small child, and stood her up and then started shuffling her to the door. She's protesting the whole time. You can't make me leave. I don't want to leave, blah, blah, blah. But she's still going towards the door, which is wild. I'm like standing there watching that. My wife has now made it out of the office. Yep, that's exact. I'm like, what am I? And then well, I guess I'm not wanted here. I'll leave. She goes. She gets in her car and she drives away. And I looked at my wife and I'm like,
what the hell just happened here?
That's exactly what I said. I was like, if it's been that easy my whole life, I should have been doing that since I was like 18. But then now I have, I was at a restaurant, like we've got a restaurant right here. And I was talking to my friend, she was becoming a cop. When you look at our promotional material, there's a little small Latina. She's got these curls, right? You'll know her when you see her. She's wearing a backpack.
Pictures of the backpack, yeah.
Yeah. And so
she's on the ad that I roll on the show.
Yeah. So she's becoming a cop, and she's like, they're telling her right after the Kerrville event. You remember the Kerrville shooting? The one at the school, or the Uvalde shooting? Sorry. The big one, McConaughey's hometown. So she's like, hey, we're going down there. They're asking for us to come down there. I'm like, okay, well, you got to understand, grieving parents, this could be pretty dangerous. Like, we stopped to, like, she's like, will you just pray with me? And I'm like, absolutely, I'll pray with you. So we start praying, but because of my PTSD, I am in the hypervigilant area, so I always sit facing a door. Like, it's just how
I've not seen combat, but that's how I am. That's how my daddy always raised me. He's like, yeah,
your daddy raised you right. He raised you right. That's what a man should do. So we start praying, and I've just got my head down because I don't have but I can feel somebody's looking at me. And to tell you how hypersensitive this is, my German Shepherds figured out when they want to go out in the middle of the night, because if they wake me up when I'm sleeping, there's a good chance if they scare me, they're getting popped. Sorry. Well, they figured out if they just sit and stare at me, I will bolt up out of bed. Like, just, so that's what I'm feeling. And so I start looking around the restaurant, and there's this guy who's sitting there looking at me like crazy eyes, and he's talking to something. And it's like I'm the only dude who can hear him talking. But he's talking to something. Oh, look at him. He's praying. Like he's like just right out in the open. He's just praying. And he's getting worked up about it. Like you can see him like rocking and he's shaking and but he's still trying to eat his food at the restaurant.
Stirring
but
up a
now,
demon in him.
yes, so now I'm looking at him and he's looking at me and he's no longer eating. And now he's like, I can't hear what he's saying, but like, I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. And then she's like, well, amen. Thank you for praying. And he like pops up and runs out of the restaurant. And she looks at me because he's only like a couple tables over. She had no idea. He just jumps up and runs out of the restaurant. She's like, I guess he was late for something, or he's just not going to pay the bill.
You gotta go.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, lots of stuff like that now. Seen some things float through the house. I don't like that.
Yeah, so, I can imagine.
I totally believe your buddy. Like when he's like, I see things now. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't dead for minutes. I don't even know if I was all the way dead. I just know like that was the first time in my life I was 100% sure like this is it. Not like when I was in combat, we would go out and do things. That's what I was about to say.
For a man, that would be like the hardest thing for me. It's like, I've been through, gunfire. I've been through enemy territory. I've jumped out of airplanes, for Christ's sake, and I'm going to die, a block away from my home from a bunch of damn bees. Come on, God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tell my children, because my children are like, were you ever afraid that you were going to die over there? And I said, I figured out on my first combat deployment, every dude that was worried about not dying or getting wounded, all of them died or got wounded. Every single one of them. Anybody who talked about it or was focused on it, and I was like, I'm not real good at scripture, but the scripture that I do know, it's like, I've numbered your days. I know how many hairs are on your head. Like, it's not in your control. Like, you can't be snatched from God's hand is the saying. Nothing can snatch you from God's hand. So, like after my first combat deployment, I stopped worrying about it. Like, it's clearly not up to me. Control what I can control. Be in the moment. But there were a whole bunch of times when I got back at the end of the day, got out of my gear, got a shower, got some food, before I went to sleep, where God would let like the day replay. And then I'd be like, oh, like it was like he was showing me like that could have gone another way.
Footprints in the sand, relived in real life, not just on a picture on the wall,
Yeah. If you're, I don't know if you got time for it.
No, go ahead.
So I had an experience in Iraq. I was a strap hanger for my boss. So I worked for the G3 directly towards the back end of my tour in Iraq. And I went out with these guys to observe and report back. They got ambushed. I was the only person who was shooting that day. And I was really bitter about it. One of the reasons I was bitter about it is selfish pride. I understand that now. So as an infantryman, getting your combat infantryman badge is a big deal. But if you work on a general staff, it doesn't matter how much combat you see, you're not getting one. Because it's a brigade and below award. So I'm out. I told these guys, hey, we are sitting in a perfect ambush. You cannot let your guy get too far out there. There are people there and there are people there. And they're like, hey, sir, those are kids. Kids like to watch us run the robots because the little EOD guys run the robots. And I was like, nah, kids, Like, these guys are trying to be sneaky. Kids are like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Kids are kids. It doesn't matter anywhere in the world. Kids are kids. Like, if it's cool and it's neat, I don't care if I'm listening to my parents or not. I'm gonna watch.
Like curious cats.
Yeah, and they're not shy about like standing up on the. They're not thinking about cover and concealment. They're thinking about, well, where's the best place to look from. So they got ambushed. I was the only person shooting that day. Evidently, that was all that was needed that day. But I mean, I was irritated because they didn't listen to me. So we drove back. It was a long drive back to base because we were out in Baghdad, and then we came back in, and I had to go from one base to another base. Luckily, I had my own little truck, so when I got back to base, just so you know who I am, I'm prior enlisted. So when guys typically stop a convoy and they're coming home because I don't have to be the staff officer anymore, I'm the guy who'll take. Hey, hand me the weapons. We'll take them down. We'll break them down. We'll clean them. I'll do as much as I can to help you, just to get away from the staff life. That's typically who I was. Not this day. I was just like, I'm done with you guys. I can't believe this. I'm pissed. And it's 15 minutes through 3 checkpoints to get back to where I was in the palace. No, it was more than that. It's 3 checkpoints for sure, but I remember those. So I end up like parking the truck. I got to walk across this massive parking lot up to Saddam's big palace. I still have to go through 2 more checkpoints to get inside, to get over to where I'm supposed to be. And I encounter the chaplain. And the chaplain, he's like 5'5". He's like 60-something, full gray hair, hair growing out of his ear, glasses on the end of his nose. Like, and these are thick. Like, he could start a fire in Iraq with them. And he sees me, recognizes. Okay, so this is a thing. Everybody recognizes me while I walk because I don't really have a neck, and everybody says I look angry all the time, and when I walk, it looks like I'm headed towards a fight, if that makes sense. Not a lot of people talk to me, but he's a lieutenant colonel. I'm a captain. He's 2 levels above me. And he's the chaplain. It's kind of his job. He's like, "Hey, Captain Vic, how you doing?" And I just, man, do I unload on that dude. I just unload like there is nothing but the F-bombs, and like every version of the F-bomb, he's sitting there listening. Like, he's listening intently. Like, he's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And I'm telling him how mad I am at these guys. And he's just like, and I go to take a breath, and he goes, "Hey, Captain Vic, amen, hallelujah. You are a tool of Lord God Almighty today. I want you to know men were going home to their families because of you. So, amen, and God bless you." And he heads off. I was like,
and that's scripture, brother. I mean, it says, I can't remember if it's in Proverbs, but it says a kind word turns away wrath.
Yeah, well, it definitely, I don't know if it turned away, it confused the crap out of me, because I was like, I didn't even think about that. All right. So he went that way. I went back. I didn't think about it. They put me out of the Army in 2007 because of my knee and some other stuff. We didn't know at the time my spine was crooked, but a lot of my pain problems were from my neck injury and my spine, lower spine being crooked, and my knee. My dad's brother, who's a Navy man, sent me this thing about this doctor who was getting the Silver Star. Now, he got the Silver Star because he pulled part of an RPG out of a kid. Okay? Now, typically when a live ordnance is in an individual, so you know what an RPG is? You play Call of Duty, it's fat part, and you got the little rocket part. Yeah, so the little rocket part, this little stem, it has an explosive in it. That's how it separates the warhead. So it's got propellant that's fuel, and then it's got an explosive on this end to push the grenade forward, which is the fat missile looking part. What is in this kid is the back end of this thing. And so this doctor, who was a young captain at the time, he's a major now. They're giving him the Silver Star. All the investigations are done. Understand, I was in Iraq in 2005. This event happened like a year later, like early 2007. He's talking to they're talking to him, and he's saying like, "Hey, I decided I was going to try and save this kid's life. Protocol is we give him morphine, we put him over there in a bunker and wait for it to detonate or wait for them to pass." So he basically tells everybody in that little OR team like, "Hey, you can stay
or
you
go.
can go, but this is what we're doing." EOD guys, when they do a removal or explosive, they always have a camera. They film it. Okay, it's usually on their head. And they keep cutting out to the EOD guy who pulled this ordnance out of this kit. And the first time he's on the screen, this is like a 5-minute video, 5 to 9 minute video, right? I'm sitting in this chair, right? Well, not this chair, but in this office right here, watching this video on my computer. And I'm watching this guy talk, and I'm like, God, that guy looks familiar. I didn't serve with him. Like, I'm pretty good with faces, but like, it's familiar, but I don't know him. Like, if somebody showed me your face, I'd be like, oh, that's Doc Brown, Prometheus Lens, right? So I'm like, I don't know this guy. And then they cut to the footage of the removal of this RPG out of this kid. Okay. And he lays his arm out there. And on his arm, he's got this Celtic cross with this kid's names on it. And as soon as I saw that, I realized, like, oh crap, that's the dude that was driving the robot that day in Iraq, like a year and a half earlier when I was there. Well, right? So 2005, this is 2009. That event happened somewhere late 2006, 2007 sometime. Right? So you're with me?
In a pond, man. Beautiful.
But wait, there's more. Then they interview the kid. Okay? Because he survived. He's doing rehab. The kid that they pulled the RPG out, he survived. And they interview his wife and his son. And as I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow, I hear Chaplain Peterson. Men are going home to their wives today because of you. And I almost fell out of my chair. Right? Like I was shook. It's the first time in my life I'd ever seen anything that was shook. And my dad was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You ain't gonna believe this, but I know that EOD guy from my time in Iraq." He's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I believe that." He's my dad. He's another paratrooper and a combat veteran. But that was the first time in my life that I saw, like, we think this moment, God thinks generationally. Like, he was showing me, like, hey, you saved him, used him to save him, and this kid's got a dad.
Amen.
Right. On top of that, guy went home to his kids. And I was like, wow.
It's beautiful,
okay.
Man. And that's what I tell people all the time on the show. I'm like, that devil get in your head and tell you you're not worthy, you're not good enough. Even with me, I had this whole thing going on when I first started doing this. It's like, who are you? You're the largest of all sinners. You've been to jail many times. All the sins you've committed. Who are you to get on and talk to people about God and Christianity? And they call it like imposter syndrome. But he does that to try to take a pawn off the table. And it's like, if everybody done their part, man, you might just have a small little part in your mind, but it's like, rocks on a pond being skipped. Yeah, it just ripples out, man. And that one little thing you did that seems so insignificant to you might have saved the life of a guy that's going to save hundreds, or bring a bunch of people to Christ and keep them from going to hell. So it's like every little thing we do matters, man.
Romans 8:28. Yeah. So the thing that I've started telling vets and anybody who's struggling, and I'm like, all my life, Like, I came to Christ at 5, which is, I understand it's really early. And I was baptized like at 10. But part of that's because I've always heard the whispers. That's what I call them. Like, I hear the whisper that tells me to do something good, and I'll hear the louder whisper that tells me to do something bad. And usually the one that's telling me to do something bad is louder. I don't know how else to explain that. Louder.
It's usually the easier and self-serving one also.
Yeah, 100%. So what I started telling people is, do you know why the devil is constantly working on you to damage yourself, to take yourself out? Like, 22 a day is too many for sure, but I'm like, the reason he's working on you is because he can't do anything to you. He can convince you to make a bunch of bad habits to damage you. He can convince you to... The Screw Tape Letters are a really good breakdown of this. If you haven't read the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, I do recommend everybody read that at least one time in their life.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants you to do it to yourself because he can't physically do it to you. He can oppress other people to have them attack you, but he can't. So he's got to get you to, like, wear yourself down, push you to distress, convince you that you're not worthy. It's all the accusations, right?
Cripple you in fear. I mean, that's another one.
Yeah. But it's like, I tell my kids, I'm like, it's all about when you look in the Bible, everybody that gets an angel, everybody who gets called to a mission was already in motion doing something else. Right? I'm gonna flip you out in just a second. I don't know if you caught this. You remember when he goes across, like, the 20 boats go across to Galilee? I think it's they go across to Galilee and they encounter the guy in the tombs.
Mm-hmm. The demoniac.
Right? When you read that, it says like 20 boats went, but only one landed. Why? Because a bunch of those people weren't supposed to be there. Number one, they weren't supposed to go on that. They encounter a guy who's possessed by a legion, right? They get cast out in the pigs. The pigs go in. We all know the pigs go in to cause trouble for the disciples, right? We know that Jesus sat and talked to this guy, right? And when the town folks showed up, they were like, oh, well, all the pigs went in. It's nice that this guy's not raving mad. He's just sitting here talking to you, right? But if you just go... Yeah, what about our pigs? Like, way to have perspective, guys.
Yeah.
But if you go like a chapter or two later, while they're over there, one of the disciples says, there's a guy who's casting out demons in your name. And my preacher's like, he's not doing it like we do it. And Jesus basically tells him, mind your business.
Yes.
Right? Like, he just tells him, mind your business. And I was like, as I was reading that, like, just, I think last year, there was just this little voice. And the voice said, who better to cast out demons than somebody who knows them all? Like, he's so familiar with them. He's like, oh, I know you. You were in me. You're this. I can cast you out. And I'm like, wait, is that guy so transmogrified? Like, was that the same dude? Right? He's so transmogrified by the Holy Spirit. And they say that was the first missionary to the Gentiles, that guy. And I'm like, was he so transmogrified that not even the apostles recognized him? Right? So when you think about Jesus is always telling them, like, you have little faith, if you have more faith, you would understand. And I'm like, was he telling them, like, do you not recognize that guy? Now, I don't know if that's the same guy. I'm not a biblical scholar, but it seems to me like if you were going to send a missionary out to, like, deal with demons, it would probably be a cat that had a lot of dealings with demons. Just common sense, right? Like, oh, you're this demon. You're this demon.
Yeah.
But
you don't send a squeaky clean person that's never done a drug in their life to try to rehab somebody. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like, what's the common saying? Your mess is your mission.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Jesus didn't call a bunch of rabbis. He just called those dudes that were all doing
all the
something.
Misfits.
Yep, all the misfits to reach out to
doing
who.
Something wrong.
Yeah, well, but it's like I tell my kids, I'm like, if you're in motion, God can use you.
Mm-hmm.
But if the devil can just get you to stop, like, no, don't, like, he may not be able to get you to not believe, but if he can get you to not act, like, oh, look at that guy struggling with this car. My kids would ask me, they're like, I'm not an approachable person. I'm more so now. But when I got back from war, I was not a very nice person. I was in a lot of pain. And they're always like, if we're in a store and somebody walks up to me and says, Can you help me lift this heavy object? I always say yes. And my kids are like, why? I'm like, that's my first gift. The physical strength of my body. And I know as I age, trust me, at 51, when I'm in there repping in the gym, I'm acutely aware it's not as good as it was when I was 35. I hope to get some of that back. But I tell them, I'm like, there's going to come a day where that spiritual gift is gone. There'll be new ones, but they're gone. And I don't ever want to, what's the best way to put it? Like, I don't ever want to not help.
Squander your gifts.
Well, yeah, squander my gifts. But there's that, like, be nice to the strangers because you never know who's an angel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that is in the Bible, but I've read it recently. It's like, that's nothing for me. Like, picking up like, oh, just grab the other half of the 70-pound whatever. Well, you don't need to help me. I can pick it up and load it on the cart for you. That's, if I can get my arms around it, I can usually lift it. So, but those are the, like, you got to remain in motion. I'm like, I had a rabbi tell me one time, he's like, there's no word for retirement in the Hebrew language. You're supposed to be of service to your creator till he calls you home. So I stopped talking about retirement and started talking about what's next. Stay in motion. What's next? Keep moving to the objective. The objective's heaven. I'm going to get there eventually, right? Like, it's like the EOD guy once said. He was like, well, either what I'm going to do is going to work, or suddenly it's not going to be my problem. It's going to be your problem to do the paperwork. And I was like, well, that's pretty much war, right? One minute you're here, the next minute you're like, those are the pearly gates. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too dark for you, I trust.
No, that was a beautiful moral lesson, man. I think it's a good opportunity to put a bow on it, man. But Chris, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, because at the time of this recording, it's 8:00 at night. You've done worked all day and you're hanging out at the office to talk to us, and so you're missing out on family time. So I definitely appreciate your time.
It's like 10 o'clock your time, right? Now that we've been on this, like, we started at 8 and we talked I just appreciate you sharing your audience with me. I hope if anybody gets anything out of this, that's God. That's not me. That's just, hopefully God's just using us to chit chat and tell you about. I'm thankful to every single one of your people that listens to us. I'm thankful for every person who buys a product from us and invests back in America, because that's my goal, man. And I get to share some of that love with you and support you and what you're doing. Because I got to tell you, the day I heard you say that Esau was a Bigfoot, I was like, 100% agree. I've said that for years. People are like, where did you get that? I'm like, he's covered in hair. They had to kill a goat. I'm hairy. I know hairier people than me, and nobody is as hairy as a goat.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was covered with reddish brown hair from head to toe.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Bigfoot to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. If you just let the text say what it says, man, I mean, he is what we would call, in our vernacular, a Bigfoot.
So when I finally get out to Tennessee, I'll bring my copy of the Book of Esau, because I got to order it off of Amazon. I just had to get on the other side of the day. No.
I'll send you a copy.
I want to buy a copy.
I'll sign it and send it to you.
Okay, well, I'll buy another one because I want to support you.
Now, you already support me, man. That's what I was about to say, too, is the whole ripples in a pond will come full circle here. Well, you're staying in motion, and by you sponsoring the show, man, you've helped me out financially to get some of the gear and the subscriptions to record like we're doing right now. So you are making this ripple, and then I, in return, am speaking to people. And honestly, man, it's an amazing thing, because it's not me, like you said, it's God. But honestly, in the past 2 weeks, I've had 3 people reach out to me either through DMs or emails and personally thank me and said that they rededicated their life to Christ. Or Amen. I had 2 people tell me that. That was last week. And then this week I had somebody message me and thank me, and they said, because of you, I'm actually excited to read my Bible again and dig through my Bible. So ripples in a pond, man. Just, you coming on board and supporting me is making a difference in people's lives in the kingdom of God, man. Well,
your listeners need to know, when they use your code, the PLP code, you get a commission off those sales. Like, I don't that's another way. Like, I support you. We send you gear. But then that's another way. Like, you can get a great piece of gear, and then when you use that code, you get that commission, which helps you keep doing what you're doing.
Amen. Well, man, like I said, I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for your time, because that is life's most valuable asset. That's the one thing you can't get more of.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, guys, I wanted to bring Chris on because he's a great dude, and I wanted you to get to know him like I know him. He's got some really great stories on top of being a really great dude. So I wanted you to kind of get to know the sponsor a little bit and hear some cool stories too. Hear a little bit more about the product, and you tend to support people more if you know a little bit more about them, what they're about, what kind of person they are. And I knew that if you guys would get introduced to Chris, you would love Chris, because he's a very lovable guy. So head on over to squatchsurvivalgear.com. Get you some banging gear that's going to last you for a lifetime. Get that Lamborghini, because you deserve it. And if you're still saving up for that Lamborghini, he's got some Lamborghini headgear. He's got some Lamborghini accessories. And be sure and check him out. And like he said, use that code PLP10. That gets you 10% off store-wide, guys. Well, man, just once again, thank you, brother. And hey, you listen to the show. Sign us off, man. Do us the honors.
Till next time, guys. Torches high.
Well, guys, if you stuck around this long, man, weren't you treated in this one? I had no idea how this conversation was going to go. I just started thinking, I was like, man, I want to bring Chris on the show because he's a really cool dude. He's sponsored the show for 2 seasons now, and he's got some really cool stories anyway. So I was like, I'll just bring him on and we can tell some cool Bigfoot stories and then get a little backstory on him and the business and maybe showcase a product or something like that. So when we got on and had this conversation, I had no idea the encounters that he had. One was on a military operation, and then that near-death experience, man, that was just what you can tell in the episode. I was gripped. I was sitting there leaning forward, and I was trying my best not to be that ADHD kid in the movie theater, that screams out, "Oh, I've got it figured out. This person does this," or cut to the chase. "Did the dog die, man?" I held it back as long as I could because I didn't want to ruin the story, but man, he can tell a good story. As he was telling that, I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh, what happened? Or, oh man, did the dog make it? So that was just a great story, and especially the voice. He said that he heard this whisper just say, "I got you." So that's just amazing. And just to get the backstory too, man, how he created the company, how he said he wanted to make the Lamborghini of backpacks. And I didn't know that story about the Lamborghini and the transmissions either. So, man, I really enjoyed this episode. I learned some stuff, and man, I really, really enjoyed myself. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And hey, man, till next time, torches high, baby.